without parents or guardian. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian.
Bring me the axe. Welcome to the Drive-In Asylum double feature, and it's going to be an axe-tastic evening for all you fans of fantastic films. We're going to watch one of William Castle's greatest, Strait-Jacket, starring that old battle axe, Joan Crawford. And with us tonight is Dustin Fallon from Horror and Sons. Hi there, Dustin.
And see all the regulars, a few new faces as well too. Hope everybody's having a good night.
And Sam Panico, of course. Hi, Sam.
Hey. How you doing?
What is up?
Not much.
I'm really excited about this. I think this is the first time we've ever had a Joan Crawford movie on the show, isn't it?
We've talked about her a lot, but it's good to finally watch her.
Yeah, right on. I have a reputation for being a huge Joan Crawford fan. I don't know why anyone would think that, but I'm actually I have that reputation because I'm a really big fan of Mommy Dearest.
Mm-hmm.
At least I was when I was younger. I still am, but I was well known for knowing all of the lines in Mommy Dearest and annoying people by like saying the lines while we were watching it. So, I do love Joan though. I'm just not, a crazy fan of Joan's, but I have to say, like as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate her a lot more as an actor.
I think that's the interesting thing about this movie was older actresses in Hollywood at this point were considered put out the pasture outside, unless you want to play like a matron or grandmother role in movies. And this comes after whatever happened to Baby Jane, and suddenly Hollywood had roles for actors, mostly for Joan, but had roles for these types of movies. And she was in demand, and she really got it. Her demands for this movie were awesome: script and cast approval, $50,000 salary, and 15% of all profits, and she got it, which is pretty awesome.
The cast and script approval parts, which I'm sure we'll touch on more as the night goes on. Some of them are, I don't want to say like really all that excessive, but a little, still kind of funny. And the fact that she got whatever she wanted.
Yeah, and she actually was replacing Joan Blondell, who was originally supposed to be in this. So it's kind of crazy she came into it and literally took it over, which is pretty awesome.
How could this movie have been done with any other actress instead of Joan Crawford?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things is Castle originally thought that she was the ultimate gimmick and he wouldn't need gimmicks because if anyone here hasn't seen a William Castle movie before, he was well known for crazy gimmicks, like a Merjo, where a skeleton would come out of the screen and fly over the audience, or Mr. Sardonicus, where the audience voted whether or not to kill the main character. Probably only one ending shot for that, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. And then right at the last minute, he's like, you know what? I really need to print up axes for this movie. And pass them out to audiences, and he just couldn't wait. Like, he kind of needed that gimmick because he's very Hitchcockian influence. And I think that's, and Dustin, that's something I wanted to ask you guys about. I always found it funny that, like, Castle felt himself indebted to Hitchcock, and he talks about it in his book. But then, like, by the time of Psycho, with like the nobody is allowed in after the first 15 minutes and those kind of hypes, it almost seemed like the pendulum swung the other way. And some of Hitchcock's movies used Castle like salesmanship to get them across. Maybe when they didn't need them as much as he did.
Dustin.
Oh, sorry, I was waiting for you. I don't know. I mean, when I was thinking about it earlier, the person I actually thought more of was Corman. Corman, was around before and after this movie came out, but it's the where I was struck was kind of the whole, like you said, Joe being the film's best gimmick. He didn't need to spend a lot budget-wise to sell this movie. He knew that her presence alone, playing this type of role, would be all a mistake, and he was correct. So, I mean, I think the way that, he may have played off of Psycho was, this has it too. There's an early shock that basically sets the whole plot in action. I don't know. Other than that, I'm not really sure what else to say.
Well, he wasn't really the first person. No one's saying he was the first person to come up with ad campaigns like this, but he took it to a new level with he understood that really all you needed to do was get people into the theater. Yes. Covey, you couldn't let Vivi steal the scene, could you?
No, he wanted to see her. He heard her, and he was like, come on.
She heard somebody come home, and she took off.
I love that. Like, one of Castle's gimmicks was the coward's corner, where you could leave before the end of the movie. Yeah. And like the first night that he did it, everybody left because they had already seen the movie and they wanted to see it again for free. So he built that coward's corner. So you had to walk in front of the audience. People would throw stuff at you, and then they put a yellow streak down your back before you could leave it. And it was like, there's no way people are going to do this to get out of the movie. You know what I mean? So like. Also, offering life insurance for everybody. Even up to his last movie, he created his own species of bugs and got it named for the movie. The movie with the cockroaches that shoot fire out of their ass, which is.
I think Macabre was the one of the first films where he used an ad campaign offering an insurance policy.
Yeah.
If you died during the screening. I could be wrong about that, but
his book, Step Right Up, I'm going to Scare the Pants Off America, is one of the greatest books ever. It is like the most carny, hucksterish book where it's like, if 10% of it's true, it's still completely unbelievable.
I don't want to know if it's not true.
Yeah, and it's just great because like it's just filled with these crazy stories of hype, and I do love too. Joan went to a ton of theaters with this movie. To appear, I can't even imagine the sheer mania of seeing this movie with her in the theater. It had to be unbelievable.
That TV series Feud touched on this a little bit, but that was so far beneath her compared to what she had come from. Yeah. She was bigger than big. She was part of the Hollywood royalty.
Oh yeah,
so they say that in Mommy Dearest, but it really was the truth. I mean, she was that old guard Hollywood. And to have her standing, first of all, to be in an exploitative horror movie in the first place, but then to go to a theater and be standing there with an axe, like chopping a birthday cake in half. I mean, it really was sort of, I don't want to say degrading, but probably a lot of people would have been shocked that she even did that in the first place.
Yeah. It's pretty astounding, but it's also kind of awesome, Like she kind of recognized if she wanted to still
Yeah.
be in movies, you know, you have to do this.
She wanted to work
Yeah.
more than anything else. She wanted to work, and that's the worst thing in the world that she could have faced, was not having a movie to work on. So, you know, she made it happen.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it still happens today. You see it with not to as dramatic effect, obviously, but you'll see like a new horror movie pop up every once in a while, and there's, and, you know, depending on the film, it's a higher level quality actor, I guess you could say, or have a higher quality name. But you'll see somebody who, like a former Oscar winner, just suddenly pop up in one of these new release horror films or something like that.
Yeah, like
Alicia
Silverstone's in that new movie, The Requin, the shark movie, and you're kind of like, boy, she used to be a really big actress, like to be in a CGI shark movie, you know?
Well, is it the remake of The Omen with Mia Farrow?
Yeah. Well, even the original Omen seemed like that was like one of the dings on the actors. Like this movie's kind of beneath them.
Yeah.
Especially Gregory Peck.
Yeah. Like he really got a lot of barbs thrown his way for being in that movie. Because it was kind of seen as being way beneath him. Obviously everybody here would disagree, but I'm sure to the rest at the time.
It sounds silly to say that now, doesn't it?
We've talked about it before. Like horror movies, especially and exploitation movies, are very much the ghetto at the time that this was made. They weren't considered actual films outside of Hitchcock, and those were considered more psychological, even though they're horror movies, right? Like, but they were always kind of like, they're not, like, they always had like a different, that was the elevated horror name for it, I think, at that time, so that, you know, people didn't feel as bad going to enjoy it.
I think also the whole experience of having Joan Crawford in this movie being a gimmick, that was sort of something that was starting to come into its own as well, with well-known actors appearing in less, commercial films. Right. Not less commercial, but stuff that seemed like it was way beneath them. And she was one of the pioneers of that whole thing. Unfortunately, posthumously, she also pioneered the tell-all book, the celebrity tell-all book,
and her book about how to be a great hostess, which is, if you've ever, I know
My Way of Living.
Yeah, which is bonkers insane, and nobody should follow. Or maybe they should. Maybe the world would be a different place if they did. Yeah,
one of the things, a lot less wire hangers in the world.
I think that's most important. I think the thing, and I saw that Mr. Dan Hoare brought up Ghost Story Circle of Fear, which I've been doing every week on the site. I love Castle stuff, especially Macabre, which is it's a remake, and not remake, it's a ripoff of what's the one French movie that he was in? What's that Dead Beliques? But you know what? Like his films work. They're really economical. They're quick, and I think when you compare them to some of the stuff that comes out today that seem lower class, like they're pretty decent. They're fun. And the other thing I'm excited about this movie is two of my favorite actors are in it. Lee Majors is in it, and George Kennedy's in it, and he looks super young, almost supernaturally young. You don't expect George Kennedy to look like that. And there was a lot of discussion amongst my Twitter friends this week about George Kennedy, that he is the American Donald Pleasance. In the 80s, there's a movie, they're like, hey, we got this movie about a robot cat, and that's on a cruise ship, and yeah, Mr. Kennedy's fine with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he would do anything. Like, oh, he's going to fly the Concorde and shoot a flare gun out the window? Yeah, he'll do that. Bo Derek's going to be naked and run around him, and he plays her chauffeur. And, yeah, he'll do that. I don't really think he turned anything down, that's my kind of actor, you know?
You're going to spend your days talking to a giant wooden Indian.
Oh, I love him in that movie.
Yeah, they were the dumbest shop owners in the world. I want to know why the hell that cigar store Indian didn't come to life before the hoodlums murdered them. That would have been nice, you think?
That's not the way magic works, Bill. So blood must be given to the wooden Indian.
I want to say something before we go any further. We have to address this about the legacy of Joan Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of now I'm noticing all this weird backlash against Mommy Dearest, and I in one regard I can understand it, because I think the fact that that Joan was singled out as an abusive parent, that sort of detracted from her legacy as an actor. You know, a long-standing, amazing actor, and unfortunately, actors are humans, as Marilyn Monroe once wisely said, and they have flaws like everybody else. And unfortunately, this was her flaw. I get really annoyed when I see people online like calling Christina a bitch and saying that she made the whole thing up. Like, I think that's really bizarre
Yeah.
for somebody to say that and think like, well, none of that could be true. Like, she had to have made that up. Where the hell would she have made all this stuff up? And why would she write a book and put herself out there like that?
And I
Even if
don't think she always presents herself as a saint within the book and within the movie.
Right, and that's her flaw.
Yeah.
She's a flawed storyteller, and she doesn't even really have to be a nice person. That doesn't mean that she made all that stuff up, because
Yeah, and I think you can understand somewhat where Jenna was coming from, because she had a very abusive childhood as well. She was a performer from an incredibly young age and had to continually reinvent herself and be ahead of the pack. And it's like she wanted children, and then it's kind of like I often talk about this when I review movies. Like, the true horror is like when you have a fantasy of how things are going to work out and it doesn't feel right when it happens. And like that's a really scary thing in real life. And I think she just wasn't really completely capable of giving up. The other thing, it's strange. I think a lot of those people say those things to Bill is because, like, supposedly the other kids never complained as much. But
that's the way an abusive family works.
Yeah, she may have been singled out because, especially becoming an actress. That's my favorite scene in the movie, when Christina's in the hospital and she turns on the soap opera and her mother's in it. Is like, wow, like that's like really astounding, and that really happened.
Life is stranger than fiction. So
I've always been fascinated by the separation from reality that a lot of these people tend to have, especially when they have that level of fame and they kind of are excluded from everyday people, especially when that I don't want to say failure in their career, just even a downswing, if you will, or that kicks in when things change, and the adjustment to that fantasy life, changing around you or not being as elaborate as it once was.
She was a very insulated. Oh, sorry, your camera froze for a second.
Oh, sorry. I was saying you still see it today though, with actors and actresses in media today. You'll read about somebody who careers on the downslide and suddenly went and did something stupid, or it's hard. I mean, it's hard to really put ourselves. I'm not justifying it at all, but it's hard to put ourselves in that situation of where you're that isolated and secluded from everyday reality and normal people. So that way, once it starts slipping away from you, you have to adjust back. I don't know. To me, it's kind of a fascinating thing to. I don't want to say to watch these people spiral out of control, but to try to figure out how it happened.
You didn't see things like that back then. Like the illusion of the Hollywood illusion was so closely guarded that you didn't. They squashed stories like that before it got out. One of the scariest parts of the book is, the scene everybody always talks about in Mommy Dearest, where she like goes and tries to strangle her. That is something. The movie exaggerated some things, but that is not exaggerated. That is what Christina described in the book, is that Joan attacked her and banged her head off of an ice chest and just really beat the hell out of her. And then she called the police, and a juvenile officer showed up and said, "We're going to have to take you to juvenile hall if she tells us that she wants us to." And she was sitting there, like she said, "I had a big handprint on my face and I was bloody and I had obviously been, attacked." And he said, "There's nothing we can do." about it, and that was really scary to think that, and that is true. Even if you weren't a child of a celebrity, parents had that power over their kids back then, and they still do, but not quite. It's not as guarded now. Now, if somebody finds out about child abuse in the home, there are systems in place to catch that, or hopefully, even as deeply flawed as that probably is, at least there's something in place. Whereas back then there was nothing, and it was very different. So that was a very real, scary thing.
Sorry, I was just reading the comments here.
Sorry, I was bumming everybody out.
No, I'm sorry. I'm hoping I fixed the fan issue.
You can be both. You can be a fan of Joan and you can believe.
Oh
Christina.
no, I meant the fan causing sound. Sorry.
Oh no, I know. I just happened to say fan.
Gotcha.
You could be a fan of Jones and you can be.
Oh, I think so.
Believe Christina. I mean, I am. I still like her work, but I totally believe Christina. So
yeah.
I
think there's an interesting drinking game in this movie too that Dustin knows about.
Yeah, I don't know how many times you'll end up drinking, but it's a few.
Yeah.
Do we want to go ahead and announce it a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Your drinking game for this movie is a certain product placement will pop up multiple times. If you see Pepsi somewhere in the background of this movie, feel free to drink up. And it doesn't have to be a Pepsi-made drink, but they want you to drink Pepsi. It's very clear.
And it's crazy that Dr. Anderson in this movie is played by Mitchell Cox, who was the vice president of Pepsi. And
I knew he was somebody who worked for him. I wasn't sure what he was.
Yeah, and Joan did this all on her own. She didn't even ask Castle. She just literally brought in. That's one of my favorite scenes in Feud. Whenever she has the Pepsi machine, and everybody has to pay for it. So Betty Davis gets the Coke machine and wheels it in and says it's all free for everybody.
A non-actor in this film.
Yeah.
Which this movie has a very camp reputation, and it's totally deserved because it's really outrageous. And I don't know how anyone could have taken it seriously, even in its day.
You know what's funny is both this movie and the follow-up are kind of meta now when you think about it, because Carol's character in this does everything she can to keep her mom from being depressed, even like changing her look. And do you know what I mean? In this one. And then in the next movie, we're to believe that Joan is a circus ringleader who's younger than everybody in it, even her own daughter. So it really feels like it parallels a lot. That's kind of why I believe Mummy Dearest, because both these movies are so meta in nature. They're like, art does imitate life, and it happens in both of the Castle films.
Not to hopefully give too much away, but not the very end, but the conclusion of this film kind of parallels a popular cartoon that had come a few years later.
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
I'll give it away more after the film. I don't want to.
Okay, but we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, it's actually
good. Sorry,
I was going to say it's actually. No, but I don't want to give too much away if someone hasn't seen it, but it's a very cheesy reveal when things finally reach the conclusion.
I know there are some people who told me that this is going to be the first time they watch it, so we won't give away the twist at the end.
Yeah. Also,
M. Night Shyamalan has nothing on Strait-Jacket.
The Pepsi. Speaking of Pepsi, the Pepsi scene in Mummy Dearest is my favorite scene. When they come in and they're all talking to her about how she can be off the board, and she just drops a hammer on every guy in the room. It's really amazing. I've been in meetings like that where in ad agency meetings where people are all ready to gang up on somebody, and one person can turn the table. So it's really kind of inspiring.
Yeah, that is one of the things that they made up for the film. I mean, there's no parallel to that in the book, obviously, because how would Christina know that, really? But yeah, that's great. And they bend to her will, and they do exactly what she wanted them to. I
also love her husband, the one that came from Pepsi, where he's just they're doing all the work on that apartment, and she's telling him to tear down walls no matter what, and
tear down that bitch of a bearing wall and put a window where it ought to be.
And like he's just like such a powerful man, right? Like he's like built up Pepsi. He's done all these things, and when faced with her, he's just like, "Yes, dear, okay." And like he's just like such a milquetoast around her. It's really hilarious.
Add another 50 grand to our budget.
Oh man, I do those. I'm going to start doing those little exercises that Joan does to keep her legs in shape. That's what I need to start working on.
So I have a quick announcement to make. I meant to do this at the beginning of the show, and I forgot. This was just announced. This T-shirt that I designed for the upcoming Drive-In Monsterama, April Ghouls. And that's going to take place last weekend in April at the Riverside Drive-In in Vandergrift, PA. Pretty soon on the Drive-In Super Monsterama Facebook page, you'll see an announcement for this T-shirt going on sale.
Midnight.
What's that?
It's a midnight shirt too, which as you guys may know how much I love that movie.
I do know that you like this movie just a little bit, huh?
Yeah, just a little.
So I'm real happy with the way that this turned out. So you can go ahead and order one from them. I think March 1st is when they're going to start taking orders. And you can order it and pick it up at the drive-in if you're going to the show, or you can have them mail it to you.
I was just thinking as I was getting ready for the show tonight, that the drive-in's getting closer and closer. And I know it's kind of been cold now, but man, it'll be cold then. It'll be a little less cold. And we'll all be together. So I'm really excited about that.
I cry inside a little bit every time you guys talk about it.
Sorry.
No,
I'm really excited for it.
Hey, that's a great thing to be jealous of. I'm glad you guys have something like that.
Yeah.
Everyone else gets cool shit, so we need to have some cool shit once in a while.
Yeah. Just every once in a while.
I loved your convention down there, Dustin, that you guys had Tampa Bay Screams. There's been some great celebrities there, including Robert J. Emery, the director of My Brother Has Bad Dreams.
Yep. What was it? Bill Griffey at the same time.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. They were both really nice guys. Felt bad that it was still early in the show, and I mean like within the first hour or two, but they didn't have much of a line, so I sat there and chatted with them for a little bit.
Oh, I have a billion Bill Griffey questions. I would have been the worst Chris Farley to him. Like, remember that time that you did this? Like, yeah, that was awesome. Like it would have been the worst.
That?
He just
no, I would have just been too afraid to talk. Phil knows how I am. I would have been like, hey, I really like you, and then run away. That's how it goes.
Great. Thanks everyone for joining us in the chat. I haven't even mentioned the chat yet. And it looks like we already have 28 likes. So I didn't even have to mention about liking the video. If you haven't yet, though, like the video. And if you really like us, share.
Yeah.
I'm getting really, really thirsty. Or should I do the ad gallery first?
Let's do the ad gallery and then I'll prep. How about that?
Okay, very well.
And this is my first experiment with a different kind of cocktail, so I'm super excited.
Ooh,
yeah.
I love when we get all experimental.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited for this ad gallery.
There's some good stuff to look at this for. This had a very varied ad campaign. There were a lot of different images that they worked with. Look, this was like a run-up thing that you could see in the newspaper. 7 chopping days till Strait-Jacket.
Oh my God. Oh.
Here's a more direct approach. This was like in the real estate section. I pulled it out of the classified ads or the real estate section or something.
William Castle's a genius. I mean, let's just say that.
Yeah. I mean, the Strait-Jacket vividly depicts axe murders. So they wanted you to know you were going to see some shit when you went to see Strait-Jacket. And it does deliver. There's some pretty shocking moments in this, I think. A new high in harrowing shock. Here's another one. See it from the beginning to brace yourself for the surprise ending. Oh, wow. So here's a different ad design here. Her husband, her room, another woman, and the shiny axe so close.
That
Well,
back image of her is amazing in that one.
here it is in Pittsburgh at the drive-ins. A lot of different things. A lot of it not horror. I don't know if you can read any of those little things. Anyway, I think this is a slightly different ad campaign. They really exploited Joni in this movie. Oh, yeah, we forgot to mention that Robert Bloch wrote this, the author of Psycho, and it's no one ever accused William Castle of ripping off Alfred Hitchcock, right? Except in the beginning of this segment. So we got a lot of Joan press photos that ran in the newspaper, and like we said earlier, she was game for all of this. She probably didn't want to. Maybe she thought it was a little embarrassing to go grimace in a theater with an axe, but she did it. She was willing, and she made sure her image got out there too, in association with Strait-Jacket. This was a Joan Crawford picture.
Well, when you're making 15% of the profits, right? You go all out.
She was a businesswoman, so it wasn't her first time at the rodeo.
The value of her name and her celebrity. Before, I think a lot of people did, of like how to, call. There's one scene in Feud where she's calling all the foreign press and everything, and making them breakfast and stuff. I love that.
Yeah.
So let's make this drink is literally called a Strait-Jacket. How about that?
Yeah.
Why is it called a Strait-Jacket? I don't know, but hey, it's called a Strait-Jacket. That's pretty rad, right?
Why ask why?
Yeah. So it starts with Fireball. Fireball and orange juice seems like a really good combination for my bad stomach, but you know what? I love you guys, so we're going to do it. We're going to do 2 ounces of Fireball to start. Bill, what are you making?
We love you, Sam, but we don't want to be complicit in the destruction of your body.
I've been doing it for years. All right. 2 ounces of Fireball. And then we're going to do this drink, passion fruit drink, the passion drink. So I've never tried this part. Super excited about it. And that only gets an ounce.
I can't say I've had it in years.
It has quite a floral aroma, as they say. All right, we're going to do an ounce of that. And finally, we're going to do 3 ounces of orange juice. And you're just building this over ice. You don't even have to shake this. This one's super easy.
I confess I'm ordering off the menu and making my own drink. So
it's okay. I think just as long as you're doing something.
Right? I'm not following the menu at all.
All right.
All right.
I'm going to give that a little stir, what do we say? I'm really excited about both drinks tonight. I'm excited about both movies. I'm excited to be here. And Bill, I have a story to tell while I'm mixing this up. Went down to visit my family this week, and I drove past Spotlight 88, which was the drive-in that I grew up at. And it's a flea market now. The screens blew down in a tornado. And I got that feeling you get when you're about a mile from the drive-in and you know the way to the drive-in. And also a big letdown because it's no longer there. But it was like quite a feeling to see it. You can still see where the poles were at, where the snack bar was at, how it went up and back for the cars back there. But no drive-in, so kind of sad. I saw my favorite double feature there, Battle Beyond the Stars and Star Crash, which I don't think really can be beat for a double feature.
Oh, yeah. You have me sold.
Yeah.
Future episode.
Yeah, I know. Anything with Margot, right, Bill?
Oh, definitely.
All right, well, here is the Strait-Jacket. Let's see what it tastes like.
It looks good.
Dustin, glad you're on the show.
Thank you. Always fun to be here.
Thanks, guys. And Pazuzu.
Pazuzu to you, too.
That is a complicated taste. as the kids say.
I made a melon ball.
Oh, see? This could use a cherry. I think that's what's slightly missing. I would have never think that cinnamon and orange. It is kind of like this would be a good Christmassy drink. You know how you kind of put.
It does seem Christmassy, but anything with Fireball.
You
Yeah,
sound
it's like kind
so
of quote,
convincing right now.
quote about an orange.
I don't think anybody's believing a single word you're saying right now.
Yeah, I really am enjoying it. It's quite good. So, I'm excited, and also, Bill. I don't know if you mentioned or not. You can, if you don't have Strait-Jacket, we posted a link to get it on Google Drive.
I posted it. So the link is on Facebook on the Groovy Doom page.
I hope everybody enjoys it. I know there's been a couple requests in the chat for William Castle a few times.
Yeah,
you were itching to do a William Castle film.
I definitely was, and when we were throwing out suggestions, I was like, well, I don't think he's going to turn Joan down. That doesn't seem like that'd be a smart move to do.
I'm excited that we have 2 axe murder movies in a row too.
When you mentioned Hatch for the Honeymoon, that just immediately stuck with me, and I'm like, yeah, I think that'd be a really good pair.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't seen it in a couple years, so it'd be nice to see it again. I know there's at least a few scenes in there from a visual standpoint that I just find really cool looking, really impressive. So just as always, just to not only just watch the stuff and everybody, just to see what everybody thinks, even if it's their first time watching it or not.
Diane Baker, Senator Martin from Silence of the Lambs, is in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Not the first choice.
Yeah, Anne. I can't remember her last name.
Anne Hill was the second one. Leslie Parrish was the first, who I guess she freaked out over the mask, got claustrophobic or something like that. And I don't know the details, but Joan got rid of Anne Helm.
Okay, yeah, and Leslie Parrish. It's a good thing she turned down Strait-Jacket because she went on to do Giant Spider Invasion.
Yes, yeah.
Also, I see people bring up other Castle movies they'd like to see. I love Shanks. What a weird movie. It's real strange. Marcel Marceau in a kind of sort of slasher. That's a comedy.
Vince wants Meat Cleaver Massacre too.
Yeah.
I don't know, Vince. I think people might not tune in ever again if we shift to Meat Cleaver Massacre.
Yeah, I think Shanks. I have a feeling a lot of people would hate it too. So it's kind of like how somebody Sean Midas was saying on Facebook this week. Like someone was like, "Well, I like Zader," and I was like, "It depends if you think you're getting the movie on the box.
Yeah,
you're gonna hate it. I really like it, but I also can see why some people don't like it."
Yeah. Especially if you think it's going to be anything to do with zombies.
Yeah,
that was a dirty trick.
Yeah,
that was played on audiences when it was released, because that came out in '84 in the States, which was a time when a lot of uncut films were being released unrated, like House by the Cemetery, Pieces, films that never would have been able to survive an encounter with the MPAA. They found out that there was a market for movies that were unrated, like that they could sell them with this hyper violence. So, I think it was MPM that released Revenge of the Dead, which was the retitle of Zader, and there was no graphic violence in the movie, but they issued it unrated and put one of those disclaimers at the bottom of the poster too.
Oh, and the artwork it's super intense with like the zombie rising up and everything. And then there is a really frightening scene when you see the guy come back to life on the video camera. Like there's some really creepy stuff in it, but it's a think piece, is what you say. Like it takes a little, getting used to.
Chris says MPM was run by the mafia. That doesn't surprise me.
I told Becca last week, as an Italian, I'm not allowed to say that the mafia exists. and it does not exist. And it is not a real thing. Unlike all the people that protested the Untouchables when it came out, the Italian American Anti-Defamation League. Like, no, this is not true.
Now you're going to have to go into the witness protection program, Sam.
No, I've never had anybody in my family involved in it.
Way to go.
Yeah. We don't know anything about it.
Ooh, those tubes. I'm trying out these tube overlays. So what else should we say about Strait-Jacket before we get into it?
I'm excited about it. I love black and white stuff, and
yeah, this is a great black and white film. So it plays really well.
And I think Castle's really underrated. I really like his movies. I know at the time he was looked at as just a gimmick guy, but you know, when you watch him on DVD, you're not getting all the gimmicks when you watch him at home. And I think they're great. They're pulpy, fun movies, which isn't that what a movie's all about, right?
I think he was really good at understanding his audience and what they wanted. And yeah, pulpy is a great word for it. But that's just it. I don't think he was, I don't think he was trying to do some kind of award winner or anything like that. He just wanted to get butts in the seats and to have them walking out feeling like they've had a good time, that they got their money's worth.
It's weird because, other than this movie, and obviously he had Vincent Price in a couple of his movies, but for the most part, he's the star of his movies, which is something really, really different. Like, he had his own fan club. And, people went to see his movies because they were a William Castle movie. And I think that's really cool. Not many people could do those kind of things and had that kind of call to personality about their movies where, I think Lynn Hatcher brought up Matinee, which is kind of a fictionalized telling of what it was like to be in the midst of the ballyhoo of his movies. But, who else would do the Tingler where seats actually vibrated during the movies? And someone else brought up that John Waters said that in one of his books that at night they played the Tingler in the theater, and during the day they played The Sound of Music, and all the ushers would seat nuns in the seats where the Tingler seats were, and then just randomly buzz them during The Sound of Music, which is awesome.
If that story's not true, I don't want to know.
Yeah, I love it.
I think that these gimmick films are they're looked at. You kind of touched on this a second ago. They're looked at more fondly now than they were in the time of their release, because it was sort of looked down on to make movies like this, and at least by certain people. Yeah, it was sort of like lowbrow. What did you say?
By grown-ups, the kids and the teens and the let's use 13 Ghosts. And it's realistically, it's a kid's movie. It's just got some imagery, especially for the time, that may have been a little bit stronger than what kids were generally seeing, but it's a very safe movie. The main character is a kid. It's cartoony at times. So he knew who he was targeting there. And in that sense, also, too, I think as far as, it's great entertainment. The story is not too heavy. Gives you a couple cheap thrills. Someone definitely dies, so it doesn't play it too safe. It's almost like it's almost like a carnival with him being the P.T. Barnum. It's like a kid come and watch some little, quick act that you're going to go ooh and ah, then not really think too heavy about after you leave.
They're like a dark ride. There's a little ballyhoo on the outside, and you're like, you don't know what it's going to be like inside, and then you come out and you kind of want to jump on it again. And Vince brought up Popcorn, which is another movie that references all the gimmicks. I love Popcorn, actually. I know it's not perfect, but it's got some really fun stuff in it. Any movie that has a cult that's devoted to making horror movies and kills themselves to make a movie, 100% into that. So.
Pat Carty had a lot of nice things to say about William Castle, because he was in William Castle's film Let's Kill Uncle.
Mm.
By the way, don't anybody in chat type Let's Kill Uncle, because
Yeah.
I know at least one person got banned from Facebook for 24 hours for typing that phrase.
Wow.
Yeah.
Be careful, Big Brother's watching. But he had a lot of nice things to say about William Castle, and he said he even though I think Pat was about 15 when he made that movie, and he said he treated me like an adult. He talked to me like I was an adult, and he said he would go to a magic shop that was near in LA, and he would always have a different trick every day that he would show Pat. He'd be like, "Look what I bought last night," and it would be like disappearing ink or one of those things where you chop your finger off with little guillotines.
I think it's funny that both Castle and other directors were so influenced by Orson Welles too, because he called Orson Welles to actually to take over his theater at one point. It's in his book, and like another time, he just saw Orson Welles on Hollywood and just started talking to him. He's like, "You know me from New York," and Welles was like, "Okay," and he's like, "I don't know if he knew me or not." In the same way, like Jess Franco worked with Orson Welles on a few movies. So I always liked that a lot of horror, because Wells had to make a lot of movies and had to use a lot of people. So a lot of exploitation and horror folks end up like crossing over with Orson Welles, which I think is pretty awesome.
Oh, Toasty Buff brought up the surgeon mask from Basket Case. I wish I had one of those.
Yeah, me too.
You could actually wear it now.
Why aren't people remaking that now to have out now? I mean, that feels like a great.
Yeah.
I want to wear. I want my mask to be a bloody surgeon mask from Basket.
I absolutely love that movie.
I like barf bags too. When movies would give out barf bags, because you're like, oh yeah, this is what we're getting into.
Yep.
I have a barf bag from something. I think Mark of the Devil.
Yeah, Mark of the Devil is the one I always think of that had one.
Yeah, that's what I see the most. That's generally every time someone says they have one.
Yeah.
But there was a zombie barf bag too.
Yeah.
I really wish I had that.
I will say I saw someone puke at the drive-in whenever at the Riverside when they showed Zombie. When the eyeball scene happened, someone opened their door up and just chucked out the door, which I was like, wow, I can't believe that even today people aren't ready for that scene. I was eating Chinese food at the time. I was
really upset because my friend Ashley was there that night, and but she falls asleep early. She's like Becca. Like by the second movie, she's asleep. So I think her husband just drove home, but I knew she was there for the beginning of Zombie, and I kept wanting to ask her about the eyeball scene. Yeah, and I asked her the next day. I was like, "Did you see it?" She's like, "Oh no, I was asleep by the time the credits were."
It was amazing. I just saw the light come on in the car. I saw the door open, and I just saw a head come out and just go.
Oh, we saw Zombie at a drive-in in Ocala a few years back. I want to say it was the second movie of the night, and one of the cars next to us was a much older couple. Who the first movie was Madman, and they made it through that. And literally, right after, within maybe a minute of the eye puncture scene in Zombie, I saw the car just start up and pull off. I'm like, yeah, they hit their limit.
I love that actress in Madman. What's her name? Alexis de Bruin?
I thought it was Durbin or something like that.
Alexis Durbin? Okay.
Yeah, there's a UHD of that, Bill. Did you see that Vinegar Syndrome put out?
Yeah.
I know. I did see that.
Yeah, I thought that you might be into it. Because I know you kind of like Madman a little bit.
I do.
Yeah.
I like Madman. I'm not crazy about it, but I did almost buy that disc just because. But I didn't.
I think that's the great thing about modern slashers is everyone that comes out, the slashers I didn't like as much from the 80s end up getting a little bit better. They end up going up in my estimation of them. But yeah, that's the other reason you wanted to buy that, because Galen is on the UHD doing an interview. How that happened, I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated by that.
That makes me want to buy that extra makes me want to buy it more than anything else.
She's not afraid of the Screen Actors Guild anymore, apparently.
Yeah.
I know when she appeared at Monroeville Mall here a couple of years ago, people brought her Madman material, and she reacted very angrily whenever somebody would show her that, and she refused to have anything to do with it or even talk about it.
Oh, come on.
I know.
I-
Well, I kind of understood after I found out why. 'Cause
yeah,
she made it that was a
Yeah, but
a
you still did it.
non-union film, and she's a member of the Screen Actors Guild, so she used an alias when she made that movie, and obviously she didn't want to talk about it because now I think she's like very well respected.
yeah.
Laughing at Chris's comment about the hot tub scene.
It also has a theme song, which I like when a slasher has its own theme song for its killer. That's a good thing to have in a movie too.
Yeah.
But the cover looks awesome. Now I'm like, it depends how many drinks I had, but by the third segment, I may be ordering.
Oh, Matthew bought
if you see a
Dracula
copy
Sucks.
of the Monolith Monsters out there, let me know. I was about ready to order that the other day, and then it seemingly just disappeared.
I really like Dracula Sucks, Matthew, so I'm excited for more people to see it. It's way better than it should be. Bill, and this is maybe a third segment. Maybe we'll talk Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a third segment. I don't know if you want to or not.
Yeah, don't get ahead of yourself, Sam Panico.
Yeah.
We still got 2 more segments to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Should we get to the film?
I think let's get to the film. I'm so excited. There's a bunch of new folks in here tonight, and I'm so excited that people may be seeing this movie for the first time, which is awesome.
Yeah. So go to the Groovy Doom Facebook page. One of the last posts back there, you'll see a link to watch tonight's film. So go watch the film and come back afterwards, and we'll have a lot to say about Strait-Jacket. We'll be able to talk about all the spoilery things then on the Drive-In Asylum double feature. See you later.
Goodbye.
Bring me the axe.
Puppy, get the axe.